Hey there, beloved. Here is part 3 of There is Power in Your Weakness. We have been talking about 2 Corinthians chapter 12, verse 9 to 10, where Paul is asking the Lord to take away a weakness, a thorn in his flesh that is just not going away. And the Lord replied with His grace is more than sufficient and there is power in His weakness. Now we're going to the next part where Paul is talking and said, so now I am glad to boast about my weaknesses so that the power of Christ can work through me. That's why I take pleasure in my weaknesses and in the insults, hardships, persecutions, and troubles that I suffer for Christ. When I am weak, then I am strong. In the third point that the Lord showed me is that Paul acknowledges his weaknesses, now not as just weaknesses. They aren't source of shame or guilt or limitation or any of the source. Now it has become a place, it has become something of gladness and pleasure where he takes in that he doesn't think about the unpleasantness that it brings or the limitations or the guilt that it brings, but he thinks of the power that is released through these things that he's going through. He's thinking of the testimonies that will come through the things that he's going through. He has been thinking about the strength that God and the power that God is showing through him as he goes in his path with Christ, right? It's amazing how that which the enemy uses or has used to destroy you, to hurt you, to lower your self-esteem, or to bring you to a place of destruction, the Lord is using by His grace to lift you, build you, and make you able to help other people that is in the same circumstances that you are in, that is going through the same thing that you are going through, that is struggling with the same challenges that you're going through. Now, your weakness has become a testimony that is a blessing. The strength has been taken out of the weakness that was first out something of fear or guilt from the enemy and has been placed now in a place where your faith is revealed and where God's glory is shown upon your life. So whatever circumstances you've gone through, insults that you have endured, maybe very difficult abuse situations or people that have hurt you in a certain way where you have difficulty to trust people, drug abuse, alcohol abuse, sexual immorality, things that maybe even religious people might be frowned upon. These things, if you bring them to God, if you acknowledge your weakness, that hey, this is a weakness that I'm having difficulty with, and you're going to the throne of grace with God, knowingly that He already paid the price for all of that. He already paid the price, the most costly price that He could pay, so that you can be free from that today, and that you can walk as a new person with a new spirit, that now that doesn't define you anymore. Your past doesn't define you, and the present that you are challenged with doesn't define you and make you less of a child of God because of those things you're going through. If you take away the power of the enemy by giving it to God and letting God be the one to do something in your life and work together with you as a teamwork, to work towards a better future, to work towards that goal that you have, or be delivered from some things of your past. If you take God and let God do that, His strength will be available to you and will be seen through you as well. And that's the privilege that we have as children of God, having God in our lives. It might be weak according to the world, fine. It might be a crutch according to the world, fine with that. One thing I know is that in my circumstances, when I'm at my weakest point, I've seen God come through again and again and again. Even recording this video today, I might not be feeling the best. I might not be in the best season of my life. But I do know this excitement that I have, this energy that I have, it's not something I take for granted, because it's a blessing for me to be able to do this and be excited to know more about my God. As I'm telling you this, I'm receiving as well, and I'm being blessed as well. And while I'm blessing somebody else with this, I'm being blessed too. The power of God is being revealed through me, even at my worst and my weakest moments. Things that I consider to be my limitations are becoming my strengths because of God and not because of myself. When I try to do it by myself and do the things in my own strength, I'm not able to or capable of. But if I let God and give God things that is humanly, even doctors or people, whatever, can't help, you can see God's miracles, working power working in you and through you. The grace of God is undeserved favor. Think about that. You cannot earn it, and it's free. You don't need to pay for it. It's the freest things that you can receive a life free and have it abundantly, where God is your helper. And by surrendering yourself to Him, resisting the enemy, and humbling yourself to God, to His word, you will see His grace work through you. And a lot of times, people that have been long in the walk with God, there is a certain something that some of them can fall in, and I have been guilty of that, is before you know it, you're so busy working and doing the things of the Lord and this and that and all these things. I'm always speaking Dutch with you, but you don't you forget the most important part, which is the relationship that God wants to have with you. He doesn't want to have religion. He wants to have a relationship. And when we boldly face our weaknesses, don't run away from it. Don't refuse to acknowledge it. Acknowledge your weaknesses and bring them to God. That's the first step for changing your life. So stop avoiding it. Stop letting it be an obstacle in your life. But let it be something that will motivate you and become the open door for God's strength to work through you. And even if you've been to a therapist before, change starts with acknowledgement of whatever thought or untrue thought or untrue or the problem that you're going through. If you want to see change, there is some acknowledgement that has to be. And now the beautiful thing is, it's not just acknowledgement that you have a weakness and then you become that weakness. No, it's an acknowledgement of the weakness, and you give it to God, and that weakness will become a testimony or a strength that you can work through and be a blessing for other people. And so, like Paul is saying here, that, you know, he is glad and he takes pleasure in it when it happens now, because whatever the enemy used to be a destruction, a form of destruction for him, has become a motivation to see God's glory of God. What is God gonna do next? What is God going to do next with these circumstances? What is God going to do next through me, regardless of how I feel, regardless of how I'm going through, regardless of what my current life situation is? What is God doing next? So it's something to have hope for. There's a hopeful future for you, regardless of whatever you're going through. So let the acknowledgement of your sin not be something of shame, of guilt, but let it be the most powerful thing, because the most powerful God is working His grace through you. God bless you, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.